Today, we're digging into the final and maybe the most fascinating years of Leonardo da Vinci's life. It's a story that's not just about genius, but also about jealousy, about a legacy that was built not in the spotlight, but deep in the shadows of two younger, hungrier rivals. And wow, this quote right here, it just tells you everything you need to know. This wasn't some friendly rivalry. No, this was a bitter fight between titans for fame, for fortune, and for their place in history. The fact that Michelangelo said this more than 2 decades after Raphael died, well, it shows you just how deep those resentments really ran. All right, so let's set the scene. We're talking 16th century Italy. First Florence, then Rome. These cities are the absolute epicenters of the High Renaissance. The air is practically buzzing with ambition. You've got popes and wealthy bankers throwing money at artists to create works that, let's be honest, would define Western civilization forever. And right at the heart of all this chaos are 3 names: Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. And just look at how different these guys were. Their personalities were practically guaranteed to clash. First, you've got Leonardo, cool, elegant, a true intellectual who is already a living legend. Then there's Michelangelo, this intense, solitary, bad-tempered workaholic, just fueled by this raw, almost divine power. And then, walking right into this powder keg is Raphael, young, charming, a brilliant networker, who basically learned from both of them, and then, almost overnight, became the Pope's absolute favorite. A collision was, without a doubt, inevitable. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, share and like our videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources. Thank you. So the rivalry really, truly catches fire in Florence. And this wasn't some behind-the-scenes drama. Oh no, this was a public spectacle, a head-to-head artistic duel commissioned by the city itself. And this timeline just lays it all out perfectly. In 1503, Florence gives Leonardo, the 51-year-old veteran master, this huge commission. The very next year, what do? They hire the fiery young upstart Michelangelo to paint a competing mural on the very same wall. Can you just imagine the tension in that room? And all the while, a 21-year-old Raphael shows up, basically just taking notes, before he and Michelangelo take their rivalry to the biggest stage of all, the Vatican. And the insults they threw at each other were just brutal. Michelangelo publicly mocked Leonardo for an unfinished sculpture, so Leonardo, in this classic passive-aggressive move, suggested that Michelangelo's world-famous masterpiece, the David, should probably be covered up. He even said Michelangelo's iconic muscular figures looked like sacks full of walnuts. Ouch. And even the supposedly sweet Raphael got in on the action, using his charm to sneak into the locked Sistine Chapel for a private peek at Michelangelo's work in progress. So let's jump ahead to Rome, because this is where the whole dynamic changes. We're between 1513 and 1516, and Leonardo is literally living in the Vatican. But while his younger rivals are landing the most important jobs in all of Christendom, he finds himself on the outside looking in. And this is the key contrast right here. You've got Raphael, who's basically the Pope's golden boy, painting these incredible frescoes in the Pope's own private apartments. You've got Michelangelo, who's become a global celebrity for his mind-blowing work on the Sistine Chapel ceiling. And Leonardo, he gets a nice place to stay, sure, but the big art commissions, they just aren't coming his way. The Pope, it seems, preferred the younger, faster artists. This just illustrates the 2 completely different worlds they were living in. You can almost see it, right? We fade from Raphael's bright, crowded, harmonious frescoes, these grand public declarations, over to Leonardo's world. And his Rome was a place of private obsession. It was a laboratory filled with dark, complex anatomical drawings, sketches about optics, and designs for machines that wouldn't exist for hundreds of years. He had turned completely inward. So, if he wasn't really painting, what on earth was Leonardo doing locked away in his Vatican workshop? Well, the answer is pretty much everything else. He was diving deeper than ever before, right into the fabric of the universe itself. You see, this was the mindset that drove him. It wasn't just random dabbling, it was a whole system. He had this insatiable curiosity, always asking why, and he had this incredible, almost supernatural ability to make connections. To see the pattern in swirling water and then find that exact same pattern in a curl of human hair. He was thinking bigger, smashing art and science together when everybody else insisted they were separate. And the results of this mindset were just Staggering. He illegally dissected more than 30 human bodies just to figure out how we work, seeing the body as a kind of perfect machine. He designed machines to grind mirrors, hoping to create solar weapons and maybe even see the surface of the moon up close. And of course, there were the notebooks, just crammed with sketches for helicopters, armored tanks, and submarines, ideas that were literally centuries ahead of their time. But all this scientific obsession left him feeling pretty isolated in Rome. He felt underappreciated, outmaneuvered by his rivals. So Leonardo made one last big move, leaving his home country of Italy behind for good. So at 64 years old, he packs up his things, including the Mona Lisa, which was still unfinished, and he crosses the Alps into France. And there, in King Francis I, he finally found a patron who valued his mind more than anything else. The king didn't just want a painter, he wanted a philosopher, an engineer, a genius. He actually called Leonardo father and gave him total freedom to just be Leonardo. So when we look back, it's pretty clear the legacies of these three men took on very different shapes. Michelangelo and Raphael, they left Rome absolutely covered in their masterpieces. Leonardo's greatest legacy? It turned out to be something far more private, something you couldn't see on a wall. Think about this number, 15. That's roughly how many paintings Leonardo is thought to have actually finished in his entire life. Just 15. It's a shockingly small number for an artist this famous. It's almost like a reflection of that old, weary face in the mirror, a mind just too busy questioning the world to simply paint it. But now, contrast that with this number, 13,000. That's about how many pages of notes, sketches, and scientific theories he left behind. This is where his real life's work was. Not on the walls of the Vatican, but hidden away inside these revolutionary, intensely personal notebooks. Which really leaves us with one last big question. You could say Raphael and Michelangelo won the battle for Rome. Their work is out there for everyone to see, these huge public triumphs. But Leonardo, the solitary genius tinkering away in the shadows, he might have left behind something even greater. So what do you think? Is genius measured by the finished masterpiece on the wall, or is it measured by the endless, boundless curiosity of a mind?